This is your reality check.
Hi everyone, and welcome to The Reality Check, the weekly Canadian show that explores a wide range of controversies and curiosities using science and critical thinking. This is your show for Tuesday, November 1st. I am your host, Darren McKee. And with me, as usual, are Adam Gardner.
What's up, Cube Droids?
Christina Roach.
Hello.
And producer Pat.
Hi, everybody.
We have a great show for you today. 3 interesting segments. Adam is going to explore whether Star Wars is filming in a city near you.
That's right.
Alderaan, I believe. And Pat is going to give us another game of Name That. But first, Christina is going to investigate whether the Theraband FlexBar is effective for tennis elbow.
Friend of the show, Dave Nandez, tweeted us a couple of weeks ago with a segment idea. Here's his tweet. Theraband FlexBar has a very pervasive web presence as a treatment for golf/tennis elbow. I've been using one for 2 weeks on a really shitty elbow, and it, plus rest, seems to be working, but I'd love to hear TRC's take.
Sounds like it's more than 160 characters. I'm just going to put it out there.
It was part 1 and 2 if you want to get...
Thank you.
Yeah. According to the description on the product site, Theraband FlexBar is a flexible, durable resistance device with a ridged surface for enhanced grip during use. It is used to improve grip strength and upper extremity stabilization by bending, twisting, or oscillation movement. It's 12 inches long and is made from dry natural rubber in 4 progressive resistance levels to match user capability. So if you guys can picture a piece of Twizzler licorice in your head, especially since we just had Halloween, and pumped with lots of steroids so it's the thickness of a PVC pipe, that's basically what it looks like. The band is selling for about $29 Canadian on Amazon.ca, which is about $22 US based on today's exchange rate. Amazon's description includes a line that says, clinically researched and proven to reduce elbow pain by 81% and increase strength in the tendons by 72% in tennis elbow patients.
That is a lot of percents.
Mm-hmm. As checkers who listen to TRC regularly know, the term clinically researched is one of those terms that sounds sciencey, but it can be very misleading. So there isn't a plethora of research to cull from here, but there are a couple of small studies, and Dave, you'll be happy to know that you are not completely wasting your time. The main study was a randomized trial published in the Journal of Shoulder and Elbow in 2010 titled Addition of a Novel Eccentric Wrist Extensor Exercise to Standard Treatment for Chronic Lateral Epicondylitis. The study was conducted by researchers from the Nicholas Institute of Sports Medicine and Athletic Trauma in New York City. The abstract of the study reads, isokinetic eccentric training of the wrist extensors has been shown to be effective in treating chronic lateral epicondylitis. However, isokinetic dynamometry is not widely available or practical for daily exercise. The objective of this study was to assess the efficacy of a novel eccentric wrist extensor exercise added to standard treatment for chronic lateral epicondylitis, aka tennis elbow. Fancy way of saying tennis elbow.
That is pretty fancy.
I'm sure many of you have heard the term tennis elbow, but you may not know what the injury entails. The injury occurs when there's an inflammation of the tendons of the elbow, which is caused by overuse of the muscles of the forearm, causing pain and weakness. It can be pretty painful and troublesome, and the injury responds reluctantly to treatment. I read about half of all competitive tennis players are afflicted.
Wow.
Yeah.
I thought it was just associated with sweater vests and light yachting.
Golf pros are also prone to the injury as well as us regular folk, so specifically plumbers, carpenters, and painters. Says Barton Bishop, a physical therapist from Sport and Spine Rehab in Maryland, if you're having pain on the elbow, on the outside of your elbow when you grip a coffee mug or pick something up with your hands, that is almost always tennis elbow. Isokinetics is regularly used during rehab programs because the exercises can be safely used to increase the force and resistance of a muscle group after injuries or surgery, but as the abstract mentions, the method is not exactly practical for use at home, and out of curiosity, I looked up the price tag of various isokinetic machines, and they cost tens of thousands of dollars.
Whoa.
So this is something you would do in the office of a physical therapist?
Correct, or any medical practitioner.
Right.
The most common treatments, unfortunately, includes acupuncture, but also legit treatments like corticosteroids and surgery, which have only shown limited, if any, success in treating tennis elbow long term.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Says Timothy Tyler, lead author of the study, with up to 3% of the population suffering annually with tennis elbow, we felt this population deserved an inexpensive and at-home treatment option to in-clinic machine-assisted or injection treatments. So, while brainstorming inexpensive methods for treating the injury, Tyler and his fellow research scientists were inspired by an 8-inch long rubber bar that was being used as part of general physical therapy programs. Says Tyler, there's a growing body of research showing that eccentric exercises are quite effective in treating Achilles tendinosis and other tendon problems. One particular well-designed study done in Belgium in 2007 found eccentric exercises provided considerable relief. The downside is that these exercises had to be performed on expensive machines under medical supervision. Tyler's study involved 21 patients separated into 2 groups over the course of about 2 months. All patients had reported chronic symptoms of tennis elbow for 6 weeks or longer, and none had received any surgical treatment for it. Everyone in the study received standard physical therapy for 7 weeks, and one test group also performed an exercise dubbed the Tyler Twist using a FlexBar. Probably worth noting, the makers of Theraband provided the FlexBars for the study, but they didn't fund the study.
All right.
I linked to a 20-second demo of the exercise on YouTube, but basically, you hold the bar upright in front of you vertically with the hand connected to the sore elbow and grasp it near the top with the hand on your good arm. You then use your top hand to twist the bar kind of like you're wringing out a vertical wet towel. And then you turn it perpendicular to your body and you use the hand of your sore arm to slowly untwist the bar by flexing your wrist.
Christina, this is a family show. I don't think that's appropriate.
This causes the muscle to contract while lengthening the muscle. The patients who performed the FlexBar exercise alongside their physio treatment had significantly greater improvements reporting, and here's those numbers, 81% improvement in their elbow pain and a 72% improvement in strength. The control group, however, showed little or no improvement. Tyler and his researchers couldn't believe how well the therapy actually worked and that they were seeing improvements so quickly. It's not something that they had expected. After the study was done, members of the control group who were still suffering were offered the bars and training on how to do the exercise. And Tyler claims most of those people in both groups continued to use the bars whenever they felt a twinge in their elbows, and they've pretty much returned to playing tennis or whatever activity they blamed for their injury. A second pilot study, which is basically a small-scale prelim study done before taking on a larger-scale study, was done using a method of evaluating and recording the electrical activity of muscles at rest and during contraction called EMG. Head researcher Andre Labby wanted to assess the electromyographic activity of the wrist extensors and flexors while performing the Tyler Twist exercise. The study involved 5 healthy subjects, healthy as in they didn't suffer from tennis elbow, while they were being analyzed by the EMG test equipment. The data collected measured the wrist flexors and extensors as well as the range of motion of the wrist. The resulting report showed how the exercise activated and in turn strengthened the extensors. So, simply put, they were really trying to assess the firing pattern of the involved muscles. Says Labby, EMG studies make clinicians aware of muscle activity so that diagnosis-specific exercises, such as this one, can be developed and utilized in treatment, including exercises that may reduce the patient's dependency on pharmaceuticals or eliminate the need for surgery. He does go on to say that even though their EMG study suggests the FlexBar exercise is effective at addressing how to treat tennis elbow, they would need to replicate the pilot study on actual patients with tennis elbow. So when Tyler reported his findings at an annual meeting of the American Orthopedic Society for Sports Medicine, he was bombarded with requests from doctors and physical therapists and patients for more information. Says Tyler, it's not a difficult exercise, but it is unique, so I would advise people be taught by a physical therapist if possible. If that's not possible, he suggests making sure you get examined by your doctor first, since elbow pain isn't solely attributed to tennis elbow. Very good point. Now, not all physical therapists are sold on the FlexBar. A physical therapist named Jason Grandio at Body Dynamics in Virginia is quoted in an NPR article saying, "There's a variety of methods you can use to achieve the strengthening technique. But as an example, traditional hand weights, which are used to help people strengthen muscles, can also overwork the muscle, and that can lead to more pain for some people. Considering the FlexBar is easy to use, fairly inexpensive, and you can use it at home, he understands the appeal. My son broke his ankle a few weeks ago, and I can attest to the fact that a 20-minute physio appointment once to twice a week can get pretty expensive, and much of his recovery involves being shown exercises that he has to do at home. So, in conclusion, even if the studies on the FlexBar are limited, so far it seems to be a pretty practical and inexpensive treatment you can do in the comfort of your own home without direct medical supervision and really no significant side effects.
There may be other exercises that you can do, but if it's such a sort of simple device and it's small and easy to keep and use, it seems like a good idea.
Thanks, Christina. And it was nice to cover something that was actually a bit true for once. In a local city, not so far away from you, there may be a casting call with your name on it. A Star Wars name on it. Adam, is that true?
Good question, Darren. Have you guys heard that Star Wars might be coming to a town near you? Last week, a friend of mine shared a link on social media, and the headline read, "Next Star Wars movie to be filmed near Kingston, Ontario. Hundreds of extras needed." Ottawa, where we record the colder half of the reality check, is some 200 kilometers or 2 hours drive from Kingston. This seemed like a hopeful prospect for local Star Wars fans who wanted to be one of the 100 extras that were needed for the movie. It almost seems too good to be true. Yeah, about that. The article's not terribly long, so I'll read it in its entirety, and then we can see what stands out. Kingston, Ontario. Reports out of Hollywood this morning are confirming that a portion of the next Star Wars movie will be filmed near Kingston, Ontario. The undisclosed location near Kingston will represent a previously unknown planet in the Star Wars universe. Local fans of the film series were understandably excited about the news, and especially excited about the prospect of becoming an extra in the film after producers also stated that hundreds of extras will be needed from the Kingston area. No details were released as to exactly when production would take place in the Kingston area, but they stated that it should begin no later than next fall. A casting call for extras will be announced well before that time period, however. Let us know what you think about this exciting news in the comments section below. There was no comment section. That was the first sign. This article was shared some 27.6 thousand times on Facebook. This article was on a website called channel16news.com. I don't know all of the local Kingston TV and radio stations, so I have no reason to doubt this particular website. A few things about this article were a bit suspicious to me from the start. First of all, there's no date. A real article has a date, and especially when that date is fairly old, one might wonder why the content of that article wouldn't have been noted earlier.
And especially something for Star Wars should have a star date, right? Send your hate mail to trcpodcast.com.
Second, there's no title of the actual movie mentioned. It is only noted that this is the next Star Wars movie, and that the location would be a previously unknown planet. The image accompanying the article is a composite of a couple of photos from a comic convention featuring Mark Hamill, that being Luke Skywalker, and Daisy Ridley, Rey Skywalker. I mean just Rey, sorry. Star Wars Episode 8 is scheduled to be released in 2017. I'm not intimately familiar with the filming schedule, but I knew that the prequels had all completed principal photography some 2 years prior to the film's releases. Fall 2016 filming for a late 2016 release of this scope seemed somewhat unlikely. So I did a bit of investigation, and I learned that filming began in February 2016 and wrapped in July of this year. Rogue One is months from release, so that one is completely out of the question, and filming for the next standalone had not likely started yet. But the image accompanying the article wouldn't fit with that at all. It had the stars of the main series of Star Wars movies. All this aside, why would they film in Kingston, Ontario? No offense to the fine people of Kingston, but it's hardly a big movie town. So what's going on here? From the About section of channel16news.com. Channel16news.com is an entertainment website composed mostly of articles containing fantasy news or satire. Though some articles on channel16news.com contain actual events, None of the articles on channel16news.com should be considered true and are simply meant for entertainment purposes.
El Diablo.
I don't think anyone who's not terrible ever says for entertainment purposes.
It's a legal cover, so you can't sue that psychic on television.
Oh, it's terrible. Satire? I don't see how this is satire. So I guess this one must fall under the fantasy news category. So this is not The Onion. It's not the Daily Current. It's not a joke website that we're too dumb to get. There's no joke. It's a lie trying to trick people into sharing and clicking and getting ad revenue. And like hordes of other fake news websites, this works. And it's not the only one. I found an article titled, "No, a new Star Wars movie is not filming near Missoula." It was demystifying a similar article with the same layout and nearly identical text claiming the same was happening in Missoula, Montana. I've never been to Missoula, but perhaps one could say it is the Kingston of Montana. That particular article was on WM21 News with the same fantasy news or satire disclaimer. A similar article referenced in the piece mentioned filming near Vancouver, Washington by the Landry Post. So I dug a bit more. An article in the Baldwin Post claimed filming would be near Regina, Saskatchewan. An article on the KM8news.com site claimed it would be near Frederick, Maryland, and that was shared 17,000 times on Facebook. KLPO News claimed it would be near Simi Valley, California. A few of these are more specific, citing that the writer and director Rian Johnson chose the location. Though the name Episode 8 doesn't appear in any of the articles, Rian Johnson is the Star Wars Episode 8 director, so that would be the movie that would be referenced. Now, some of these got other media attention. Star Wars fan site Dork Side of the Force shared an article from the Clancy Report claiming that shooting would be near Las Vegas. This particular one was called out as being false by Vanity Fair. They quoted Rian Johnson saying, "Sorry folks, all the rumors of us shooting in various towns in the States are false." And that's really all there is to it. I could find more terrible fake articles like this one mentioning so many other cities, but I think you get the point here. If you saw something like this, it's not legit. So what can we do? So we always say here to be more vigilant about the source, but that isn't always obvious. It's gotten to the point where if I see an article from a local TV news or radio website, I have to click around and see what else is on the site before believing anything there. It's a lot of legwork, but unfortunately, unless it's CBC, CNN, BBC, or something of the sort, you need to have a little bit of doubt. Even then, legitimate news outlets can republish or repost these kinds of fabricated stories. Consider the context as well. If the headline in the article are pure fantasy, like a bat baby or ghosts or something like that, we all expect it to be false and then we look for other signs of it being fake. But there's nothing about filming a movie in a given town that goes against what we know about the physical laws of the world we live in. If something is suspicious, just doing a Google search for that information will often bring up others who may have already done the work and looking into it for you. The next Star Wars movie will not be filming in Kingston, Ontario, Missoula, Montana, Vancouver, Washington, Regina, Saskatchewan, Frederick, Maryland, Simi Valley, California, or any other places reported by these lazy yet very effective fake websites. If it sounds too good to be true, it just might, so don't be afraid to investigate and let your friends know when they are unknowingly disseminating false information.
So it almost sounds like, Adam, that they figured out that posting that this will come into a town will get, 17, 20, 25, 40,000 hits.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the only reason they did it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then you just do it for more towns and it just gets shared everywhere. Yeah, it's terrible, but that's what they do. They're trying to get your money. So don't trust anyone on the internet if they're not us.
That's exactly right. Only trust us because we say don't trust us. That's the key.
I hope they don't learn our trick.
There we go. If it sounds too good to be true, you're listening to The Reality Check.
All right, here we go with another edition of everyone's favorite mostly guessing game, Name That. Next week is Remembrance Day, so today we play the Name That Remembrance Day edition. We have 5 questions. As usual, I'll give you a piece of information and then ask you to name that from the choices provided. We'll rotate the order, and I've randomly chosen who will go first. Who wrote the famous poem, In Flanders Fields, which references the red poppies that grow over the graves of fallen soldiers? Christina, name that. Is it A, P.K. Page, B, John McCrae, C, Robert Seville, or D, Irving Layton?
D, Irving Layton.
Christina says D. Next is Adam.
I went to the War Museum this summer, and they had a little display just on this, and none of these names ring a bell. I'm going to go with B.
So Adam says B, John McCrae. Lastly, Darren.
I'll go with D. I'll saddle up to Christina.
That was a mistake, Darren.
There's even a heritage moment on this. We should know
I
this,
know.
yeah.
I know. I feel like I should know it, but...
We all studied in school, you know?
So Darren agrees with Christina, and Adam is correct.
Damn it.
In Flanders Fields was written in November 1918 by Canadian military doctor John McCrae. It's believed that the death of his friend, Alexis Helmer, was the inspiration behind the poem. Question number 2. In the U.S., they celebrate Veterans Day on November 11th. Adam, name that. This holiday was originally known by what name? A, Treaty Day, B, Memorial Day, C, Armistice Day, or D, Soldier Day?
Well, I think Memorial Day is a different day. So I'm going to go with C, Armistice Day.
Next is Darren.
As usual, good questions, Pat. Or good selections. I'll pick D, Soldier Day.
And lastly, Christina.
I'm going to go with Armistice Day as well. C.
Christina agrees with Adam, and Christina and Adam are correct.
Whoop, whoop.
Damn it.
The United States previously observed November 11th as Armistice Day. The U.S. holiday was renamed to Veterans Day in 1954. You are correct, Adam, that Memorial Day is a different day. Question number 3. As of the latest data available in January 2014, what is the percentage of women in the Canadian Armed Forces? Darren, name that. Is it A, less than 5%, B, 15%, C, 25%, or D, 35%?
Armed Forces, eh? 15%.
Darren says B. Next is Christina.
Can you tell me the percentages
Less
again?
than 5, 15, 25, or 35.
I will go with... I'll go with C. 25%.
Christina says C, and lastly is Adam.
I'm going to go with A, less than 5%.
And Adam says A. Darren is correct.
Finally.
Damn it.
As of 2014, the percentage of women in the Canadian Armed Forces was 14.8%, with more than 9,400 women in regular forces and more than 4,800 women in the primary reserve. Question number 4. In 1916, the city of Berlin, Ontario, was renamed because of anti-German sentiment during World War I. Christina, name that. What was the name changed to? A, North Bay, B, Peterborough, C, London, or D, Kitchener?
Ooh. I'm going to say London. C.
Christina says C. Next is Adam.
I know Darren can steal my answer, but it doesn't matter because I'm already in the lead. It's Kitchener. That's why they have Oktoberfest there. There's a lot of German
Damn
people.
it.
Lastly, Darren.
I think he said something convincing for me to be lured into joining him. I don't know. I don't think it's London, though. North Bay seems too far north. So then I feel like it's Peterborough or Kitchener.
Oh, just say Kitchener, Darren. You know you're going to say it anyways.
I am going to say Kitchener, because someone has to follow Adam over the abyss.
So Darren agrees with Adam, and Adam's reasoning is correct.
So was it called Berlin because there were a lot of Germans there to begin with?
The fact that most of the original settlers of Berlin were not directly German, but were Mennonites from Pennsylvania didn't help, as their refusal to join the war effort because of their pacifism only increased tensions.
Oh. See, I thought I just guessed London because it was another city.
Because it was the red herring?
London, England. Yes.
It was the red herring.
You are correct,
Yes.
sir.
Okay.
Pacifism does often lie.
Jerk. Yeah.
So going into the last question, I have Christina with 1, Adam with 3, and Darren with 2. Question number 5. Some people believe that the red poppy is a glorification of war and choose to wear another colored poppy. The other poppy is intended to be a symbol of peace. Adam, name that. What color is that other poppy? A, green, B, blue, C, white, or D, yellow?
I did like 2 segments on poppies. And I don't think I ever mentioned this,
Because you're on opium.
but I may have stumbled upon it somewhere in my research. I can't say I've ever seen another colored poppy. I'm going to go with white just because, white and doves and peace and the flags, surrender flags and all that lovely stuff.
Adam says C. Next is Darren.
I should know this cold, and I believe it is white, but I'm hazy. And since Adam picked it anyway, I'll gamify a bit and pick green.
Darren says A. And lastly is Christina.
Well, I'm going to go with white just for the same reasons that Adam mentions. White, peace, white flag.
So Christina agrees with Adam, and Christina and Adam are correct.
Woo-hoo.
The white poppy is worn by some as a symbol of peace, and the first white poppies sold date all the way back to 1933.
Wow. Really?
Wow.
Well, that's interesting.
So Adam is your winner. Congratulations, Adam.
Thank you.
The man with the best memory.
I think it's been a really long time since I've won one of these games, so...
Congratulations. You had to win eventually.
I did go to the War Museum this summer. It's right down the street. I can see it from Darren's
Went to the
apartment.
War Museum and learned nothing, apparently.
Apparently. Maybe subconsciously you learned a lot.
Yeah. I think it was in the back of my head there.
So while putting these questions together, I stumbled on something I couldn't use as a question because there were only 2 real answers. But I thought it might be interesting to ask you guys because I found it interesting. Darren, which saw more Canadian military deaths? World War I or World War II?
Oh, I thought that would be an easy one. World War I. I'm going to guess.
Christina?
I'm going to guess World War I as well.
And Adam?
Are we counting provinces which were not part of the country of Canada during the wars, but are now, like Newfoundland?
So it's stated as Canada and Newfoundland in both situations.
All right, I'm going to say World War II.
So Christina and Darren are correct. I thought it was particularly interesting because I had seen how many people had served in both of those wars.
Yeah.
So approximately 650,000 Canadians served in World War I, and 68,000 of them gave their lives. In World War II, more than 1 million Canadians served, but 47,000 gave their lives. I just thought it was interesting that almost twice as many people served in World War II, but more lives were lost in World War I in terms of Canadian military losses.
My logic, by the way, was that I knew World War I was brutal, and I also know although World War II was more brutal in total lives lost,
Oh, yeah.
most of them were by the Russians and the Germans, and that the Allies didn't lose that many, at least not as many as people popularly believe. Well, thank you, Pat. And thank you for joining us once again. Today we learned that the Theraband FlexBar seems to have some effectiveness for tennis elbow, so you might want to investigate that if you suffer from that affliction. And Adam showed us that, sadly, Star Wars is probably not filming in a city near you, unless you happen to live in California, then maybe it is, or Vancouver. And finally, Pat gave us another game of Name That Remembrance Edition, where Adam finally got one. Until next time, think better to act better.
Peace, Cuboids.
Stay classy, not smart-assy.
Good night, everyone.
For show notes or to discuss this episode, visit our Facebook page and website at trcpodcast.com. For general inquiries or to send a topic or parody suggestion, email info@trcpodcast.com. Help support the show by leaving a review on iTunes and liking us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at TRC_podcast.
Outtakes. We're going to get hate mail. People
Okay.
saying that Alderaan's is planet, right?
Oh, whatever.
Yeah, I know. That's fine.
It's fine. Let's let it happen.
That's Darren's brain working.
It sounds like a table.
Mine sounds like a hamster in a wheel.
It does run on Steam. I didn't know you guys know that.